Hello from Gardening at Douentza here in Ireland, and you're very welcome to this Christmas or December orchid update. Now I have lots of pretty flowers to show you and we're going to get right stuck into those in just a moment. But we're going to start off with this gorgeous Cat-lair alliance plant, and she has delighted me by opening her blooms for Christmas Day. And here we are getting a full picture of this enormous plant in the Cat-lair alliance. Now this one is called Schomburgkia, and I'm putting the name on the screen because I cannot pronounce this one for the life of me. And the species name is lueddemannii. Anyway, I'm going to give you a look at the full extent of the plant now. So starting at the very base, you can see it's in a very large pot, which, well, you know, this plant is actually smaller than it was originally because it was divided not very long ago. Not the summer gone, but the summer before that. And some of you will recall that video that I made with Dimitri from the Green Nerd channel. And we divided and repotted this plant into a larger plastic pot just to make it more manageable for me. And you can see it has very long spikes. What we can also see in this picture is the spikes from last time. You see that burnt old thing there? And this spike burnt because of its proximity with the grow light that the plant was under. And I just left it here in place to show you that this plant actually hasn't produced any larger spikes since the last time it flowered. I'm just trying to negotiate this through here. You can see the spike goes down here, and here is the one from last time, which also incinerated. It was a very sad story and I got no flowers last time round. But I guess what we're going to do now is just cut off these spent spikes. We're going to cut off this one, which I can feel is quite hollow here going up. I'm just going to cut as low as I can. And show you those hollow spikes. And let's have a go with the one around the other side. And we'll just cut that off. And as I said before, this is for aesthetics now at this stage. And as you can see, this is quite a beautiful plant. It produces two large clusters of flowers on the top of these long stems, although the stems aren't as long as I'd been led to believe initially. And these are what the flowers look like. Now, whether or not this is lueddemannii or not, I'm not sure, because pictures I find on the internet show something that's more bicoloured than this. So if there are any experts out there, I would love your opinion in this instance on what species you think this plant is. Now, this is a beautiful plant that I've had for several years, and it had flowered for me before last year. Now, as you just heard a moment ago, last year I had the unfortunate mishap of placing this too near the grow light and the spikes burnt and aborted, but it had flowered for me before, so I had seen it in flower. And I'm really glad to have it back on form again, because if you have as big a plant as this in your collection, it's taking up a lot of space and it really has to earn its keep. Now, each of the two spikes has a total of 10 flowers, so that's 20 flowers in total, which is a really good result. And we do have a couple of buds that aren't yet open, but most of them are open now, and as I said, they opened on Christmas Day. I don't detect any scent from it, unfortunately, but I will tell you what there is a lot of, and that's this happy sap, which you get if you touch the blooms or the stems down here. And it's very sticky, and by chance I stuck my fingers in my mouth and it's really sweet. Although, of course, I'm not suggesting that anybody would eat something that they don't know whether it's poisonous or not, but I did this by accident and that was a surprise. Okay, so just going in and trying to get a good view of these flowers. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, we're in, well, late December now at this stage, so light is really at a premium, and it's very hard to record this and show it off to its best advantage, and difficult for me to enjoy it to its best advantage as well, because it's not just all about recording things on a video, it's also me enjoying those blooms here in the house. But I hope you can get an idea of how they are. Now, the petals are very kind of frilly. Do you see that? How they have a kind of serrated edge? And that seems to be indicative of many of the Schomburgkia species. Those flowers are upside down there. And I think it's just a really attractive addition to anybody's Cattleya collection. So if you love to grow Cattleyas, then I think this is a good one to have in your collection. Unless, of course, you have a very small space, and he or she with a very small space has to be selective about what they grow. So that is my current biggest and best bloom to show you, but I have a few more tricks up my sleeve, so just bear with me while I go and collect a few more plants from elsewhere in the house and place them here on the table in front of this beauty. And here we are, a quick fetching later with two more orchids in front of my big one, and the one on the right is Paphiopedilum Pinocchio, an old favourite that flowers very reliably and very sequentially for me. And the one down below is LC Final Blue, and I think this is its first flowering. Now this is a very pretty little Cattleya. It's not a big one, as you can see, perhaps from the size, perhaps in comparison to the big the big girl behind, but it is very pretty. And unfortunately I only have one flower on it, because I've seen photographs of this when it's absolutely covered in clusters of blooms, and it makes a fantastic spectacle. So I hope that next year I'll have more. And the scent, really pretty, sweet floral scent, very nice. I can't say what it reminds me of, but it's certainly a Cattleya scent anyway. Now, of course, while the name is Final Blue, this is about as blue as it gets with Cattleyas, which of course do not have any natural blue colouring. It's kind of a purple really, but we'll forgive it because it's a beauty. And I also have a Dendrobium that is just very nearly about to open. And this is a lovely one, which has flowered for me before, but this year it has two magnificent spikes. We're looking at one of the spikes with 3 blooms on it, but this one up here also has flowers, and I think this has 4. They're less advanced than the first, but yeah, 4 flowers. So it'll kind of be a staggered effect with these ones down below in full flower for a while, and then the ones behind will, you know, come up and take up the baton and continue flowering forward. Now, unfortunately, this plant had a bit of an accident. It has suffered on and off from mealy since I got it, and I don't seem to be able to shake them off completely. It therefore lives in isolation, and it had a little accident. This was the new growth, and the plant got knocked off the windowsill and the new growth was broken. So that probably means I'm not going to get any flowers next year, which is a pity, but I will definitely enjoy this abundance of flowers this time round, and I'll be sure to come back here and show you this when it's in full bloom, when it opens fully. They open very wide and very flat, very big flowers, and also I think the flatness is something very desirable on orchid blooms and perhaps a bit unusual for dendrobiums. So, well, yeah, we'll be sure not to miss it. And we need to come into the sitting room to see this other Oncidium, which is actually in bloom at the moment, but it really is a sweetie. Now, this plant is actually a noid, so if anybody has an ID for it, then please do shout out, leave a comment down below. This little baby has a vague floral scent off it. I can't really say that it smells of anything in particular, just vaguely floral and pleasant. It's pleasant. And yeah, I mean, what I really love about this is I really like the flowers. I like the dark colour. I like the contrast with the lip. I think the shape is good. And just a little bit of yellow there at the tips of the petals I think is very good. And what I really like about this plant is its reliability of flowering. Now, reliability of flowering is something I've come to appreciate more over the last few years. In the beginning it was all like, oh, what will the flowers be? I'm going to buy this for the fantastic flowers. But there comes a point when you realise that something that you know is going to come back year on year really is worth its mustard. And I know there was a point in time where I got bored with oncidiums. And for example, there was a Tahitian dancer that I had for years, and she used to flower for me every year. Really reliable, nicely scented, masses and masses of small purple flowers. And in the end I just got bored with her. I think I wanted a better challenge, but I think I'm coming back to the point of view now at this stage that yeah, a fewer challenges in my life are what are actually required at this point in time, and flowers and orchids that just do what they're supposed to do without me having to break my brain trying to get them to come into flower. That's what I really need. And now a little look at this fantastic Cattleya of mine, King George Serendipity, which you will have seen in the last 2 orchid in bloom videos or orchid videos that I made. And here I just wanted to bring you back and show you how King George is shaping up and how magnificent he still looks. It's been such a long time since this bloom originally opened, and it's still looking just as good as it did in the beginning. Having said that, I do see a slight fading in the petals. Perhaps the colour isn't quite as vibrant as it was in the middle of its flowering, but the lip is still sumptuous. And just lose yourself in those fantastic warm colours. It makes you feel that you're basking in some tropical island. Well, that's what it does for me anyway. I think pink and orange are the most fantastic combination, and you can see here with the lip and with the petals behind that that is the combination that this plant has amply used. Fantastic petal and flower shape as well. And look how up here there isn't a slight bit of browning. Often I get browning tips, especially as a flower ages, but this one, which has been in flower for weeks, is still looking as pristine in that respect as it was on the first day. King George is in need of a repot, just a little bit. You can see how his roots have extended out from the holes in the pot, and many of these roots, if not all of these roots that are sticking out now, are in fact dead. There are no green tips. So I'm going to wait for this plant to plump up a new growth and set about with some new root growth before I repot. And I think if we look in here closely, I can see some eyes plumping up. There's one here, oops, underneath a kind of sheath. And there's one down here which is actually a bit tricky to see from this angle. Now what happens is one or more of these growths will start to elongate and make new pseudobulbs, and then the plant will begin to put up new roots, and that will be the perfect moment to repot my wonderful King George. The scent on this flower is still very much there, but less so than it was previously. And it is spicy. I mentioned this before, and someone expressed astonishment because theirs, they said, smelled very much of roses. But giving it a new sniff, I do think I detect something of the rose about the scent. And let's see if we can manage to detect the sparkles on the petals this time round. I know I couldn't get them in previous videos, but we do have the benefit of some light today. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but on the petal there are just little dots of sparkles, like someone has sprinkled a bit of child's glitter on there. So there he is, King George Serendipity, certainly ranking as one of my favourite cattleyas at the moment and looking absolutely fantastic in the morning sunshine. And speaking of reliable flowers, I'm very happy to introduce this beauty into the mix. So we've got 3 different genera here. We've got Cat-lair, we've got Paphiopedilum now, and we've got Oncidium. And all 3 are hybrids, and all are looking absolutely fabulous at the moment. I just love this trio. I think they're great. I think they show everything that an orchid collection can and should be. And sorry to the species purists out there, but you really can't beat hybrids, in my opinion, for beauty. And this also is a noid. It's one that's sold as a complex American hybrid, and this is a plant I've had for many years. One of the first to my orchid collection. It was a bit tricky to get to rebloom the first time round, but since then it's done really well. And I want to show you something surprising and a little bit shocking here now. So brace yourself if you have certain fears. We have a spider who's taken up home in here, and I'm probably freaking him out now. He's freaking me out a little bit as well, but yeah, I guess I should get rid of that, but he's not really doing me any harm. And just to give you some little close-ups of the flower, because he really is a fine, handsome chap with all those spots and different colours. Very pleased with this one. I'll just show you his neck now. He does need support when he's in full bloom, but the neck is very hairy, which I like a lot, and the hairs extend down the stem, which is on the other side of this stake at the moment, so a bit hard to see, but you get the idea there. And here we have a few more of the oncidiums coming into flower. And this one is really exciting because I bought it for my daughter at the orchid fair 3.5 years ago. It was a seedling at the time, and actually Oriana has given it back to me in the meantime, so that's why we get to see it coming into bloom for the first time. Now it has these lovely, lovely yellow flowers, and when the sunshine hits them, it's a real kind of, I don't know, well, it's a treat, this weather. And here we are a few days later, and as you can see, the yellow oncidium is now fully open in all its glory to beautiful large yellow flowers, and the red one is still working on its final bud but has a fantastic display. Now I didn't actually stake it properly this year. As you can see, the stake is kind of an afterthought, but I've staked it enough so that the plant isn't going to break, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic, kind of leaning sideways like this, so I'm very pleased with it. So let us luxuriate for just a few moments in the deep richness of these glorious red hybrid flowers. And I think this might be the plant to turn many of you species snobs into a hybrid lover, because just look at it. Look at it, the richness, the depth. Look at the fluffy whiskers underneath the nose there. Fantastic, fantastic plant. And this one down below, I think, does a great job of illuminating the darkness above, because it's so bright and sunny, and the two together, they really look great. There's that yellow one. And just a little reminder that all of these photos go up on my Instagram, and you can see a link to that Instagram account in the details of this video. It's always there, so if you're on Instagram, perhaps you'd care to, you know, check out flowers and things before they actually open and come into a video. Well, not before they actually open, but before they actually appear in a video. Okay, just a final deep dive into the inner workings of this absolute beauty, and just so we don't let the yellow one feel left out, we'll deep dive in there too. And that brings us to the end of this orchid update video, but I hope you'll check back soon to see many things in flower. That Dendrobium we saw, I have lots of Oncidiums coming, and some more surprise ones that haven't flowered for me before, so it'll be a first flowering for them. So do check back to see how those plants turn out. I hope you're all enjoying your Christmas, and just, you know, Christmas can be a very difficult time for many of us, so if you are struggling this Christmas, then, well, you know, these videos are about orchids, so we try to stick on theme, but my best advice can only be just keep going, it gets better. Thanks for watching. Bye.